Do you ever wonder why your emotions are all over the place? Do you ever wonder why sometimes you feel sad, anxious, or frustrated without even knowing the main reason? Well, I'm here to tell you that most of those problems and those emotions stem from what is going on internally in your heart. The Bible tells us in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, that we need to guard our hearts above all else, for it determines the course of your life. In other words, what you let into your heart and what you consume will determine the course of your life. Now, we have the choice every single day to decide on what we are going to consume. We can either wake up and go straight to our phone, check our socials and everything, or we can choose to put our relationship with God first. We can choose to listen to the music we know we're not supposed to be listening to, and we can also choose to listen to worship music and listen to music that is going to be of positivity to our lives. Nowadays, a lot of people go around frustrated, anxious, and they walk in fear, but they don't know why these emotions occur. But then, if they reflected, they would see that what they are consuming is kind of just stemming off and having an effect on their emotions. Because like I was saying, what you put in is what you're going to get out. So if we are constantly consuming negative things, then of course we're going to have a negative reaction and we're going to have negative emotions in our daily life. But if we are constantly consuming things that are going to bring positivity to our life, things that are going to bring growth to our life, things that it's going to bring peace to our life, then those emotions are going to be reciprocated and we're going to feel the happiness, the joy, and the peace that God has to offer. But it all starts with the decision that we make on what to consume each and every day. I kind of see it like a person who goes to the gym every day. You see, people want to be strong, they want to be fit, and they want to build their dream body. But there are those who implement that with their diet as well. They go to the gym and they eat well. And then there are the others who go to the gym and then come home and eat whatever they find, whatever junk food they can find. And I feel like that's the same way with Christians and with people in general. Sometimes, you see, people want to improve their relationship with God, and people feel like they're distant from God, but then they don't change their diet, their spiritual diet. They keep on consuming the things of this world instead of consuming the things of God. And then they wonder why they're not growing. They wonder why they feel so far from God. But it all starts with what you let into your heart. And there's two main examples in the Bible that I want to bring up about two very wise and very powerful people who let themselves be consumed by the world and they suffered the consequences. The first person is going to be King Solomon, one of the wisest people to ever walk this earth. Throughout the beginning verses of 1 Kings chapter 11, we can see that Solomon had all these many foreign wives. And the Lord told him that you must not intermarry with them because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods. But he didn't listen. And slowly, as Solomon kept growing older, his wives turned his hearts after other gods. And they were basically being idols to Solomon's life. King Solomon, he had a heart that was fully devoted to God. But then he let the temptations and he let himself be consumed by these women. And they started changing his heart. And they started changing the relationship that he had with God. Because of these actions, the Lord told Solomon in verse 11 that since this is your attitude and you have not kept my covenant and my decrees, which I commanded you, I will most certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to one of your subordinates. King David also went through a similar situation. He woke up one morning and saw Bathsheba bathing, and he was curious, and he sent some of his people in order to find and to get to know who this woman was. And he let the temptations grow so much that he ended up sleeping with her and getting her pregnant. And then soon after this, they gave birth to the child. But then a short amount of time passed and the child ended up dying. So David suffered this great loss of his son because he let the temptation of sleeping with Bathsheba overtake him, so they didn't do things the correct way, the way the Lord commands us to do things. And for that reason, his child died. He let the temptations and the things of this world consume him. And Solomon did a similar thing, and they both saw the consequences of their actions. So how exactly can we guard our hearts in order to reap the benefits that the Lord gives his people? Well, one of the first things I advise y'all is to start building boundaries within yourself and within the things that you consume. Because a lot of people walk around with no boundaries, and they let anything and any single person convince them into doing things that they don't want to do. They let the things of this world consume them, and then that changes the trajectory of their life. So we need to start building those boundaries with other people, with what we consume on social media, with the music we listen to, because these things have a direct correlation to how we feel. So if we're constantly conscious and vigilant about the things that we consume, and if we're making sure that what we consume is positive instead of negative, we're gonna see that our lives are gonna start changing, and we're gonna start feeling happier. We're gonna start feeling at peace, constantly praying, constantly seeking the Lord through his word, listening to worship music, fasting, being in communion with other believers. These different things help us to consume what is right, and these things help us to consume what is gonna take us to different levels and to different places where the Lord wants us to be. We can choose to either listen to the secular music like I was saying earlier. We can choose to give in to those temptations, or we can choose to fight, and we can choose to be purified by the Lord and have that constant conviction. So a reminder that what you put in is what you get out. For example, if you're an athlete and you go before a game and eat a bunch of junk food, you're gonna feel terrible during the game and after the game. I can tell you this first-handedly. It's not a good experience. But what I'm trying to get at is that what I consumed before the game had a direct correlation to how I felt after and during the game. And that's the same thing with our spiritual life. If we're consuming things that do not edify us and do not give us positivity, then we can't be questioning why we go around feeling sad, anxious, and tired. But if we consume what is right, what is pure, we're going to see the benefits in our daily life, in our emotion, in our peace, in our mental health, physical health, spiritual health. There's so many benefits that come to your life whenever you start consuming what is right. But like I was saying earlier as well, you have to have that boundary between the things of this world and the things of God. Remember to be vigilant and to be conscious of what you consume. Because like the verse was saying, we need to guard our hearts, because that determines the course of your life. Whatever you let into your heart you're going to get something similar out. It can be positive or it can be negative, but the decision is up to you.